Okay, we're live. She's here. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar put together by Growth Hackers. And we're going to talk about something very important, so important. But I'm going to say welcome, 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 everyone. I see a number of people have joined in live already, and my name is Oluchukwu Chiadika. I'm going to be the moderator for today's session. I'm going to be hosting three fantastic, phenomenal voices. And what we're going to be talking about today is it's something that everybody, one in one way or the other, have actually experienced. It's part of marketing. It's when you go for an event and you experience some certain things, and when you get back home, you're unable to stop talking about it. You tell your friends, you tell whoever cares to listen. You're wondering, like, I went for this event, this happened, that happened. Guess what? There are few people that put that experience together for you, and they achieved whatever they wanted to achieve by you going back to your house, you going on social media, you speaking about it. And today we're going to talk about that, which is experiential marketing. And we have, like I mentioned, three exceptional, phenomenal, really great voices, people that know their onions. So one thing I did before today's session was go about and look for all of you on social media to see what you've been up to. And I can tell you for a fact that you want to sit tight. You need to have your notepad because you're going to be learning a number of from people who have their hands dirty in the industry. So I'm going to introduce them to you shortly, but I've been yapping. I've been saying a lot. So I'm going to have them just say hello to all of us. Like, hi, good evening, success.
Hello,
Okay,
good evening.
good evening. Hi, Aderayo.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
And hello, Seyi.
Hi. Good
Oh,
evening,
thank you.
everybody.
Thank you so much. So I'll go ahead to pretty much read their bios, right? So I'm going to start from Seyi Olaniyan, who is one. I don't even let me just read the bio as it is because he's a highly experienced brand builder with over a decade of expertise in top tier media and has consulted with a diverse and array of brands. He has led projects that significantly has influenced contemporary culture and helped brands to surpass their objective. His extensive portfolio showcases collaborations with both local and international clients, crafting powerful narratives through innovative visuals, creatives, strategic content development, thoughtful planning, and flawless execution. I can attest to that. Noticing an increasing gap in how individuals manage their professional and personal lives, she founded Yellow Life, the Yellow Life Company, a venture rooted in passion and purpose. This dynamic platform empowers people worldwide to live fully in the moment while promoting a healthy work-life balance across industries. Please, if you're in the comment, please make use of the comment and give Seyi, who is our speaker for today, a round of applause. I want to see the comment section. I'm sure I can see it from here, but please do well to give him a round of applause. He's going to be speaking to us. And I'm also going to move to our next speaker and go ahead to read our bio. I'm talking about no other person than Aderayo Adesokan. Please, I hope I got that correctly. I've practiced and practiced. So, Aderayo shapes how fintech brands are seen and understood, leading brand and communication, CSR, and brand activations across markets. She oversees extensive external messaging campaigns, global events, experience, and corporate brand perception, ensuring a consistent voice wherever the brand shows up. With a background spanning banking, finance, FMCG, BNPL, insurtech, and entertainment, our work focuses on narratives that reflect business priorities and resonate with the right audiences. She works closely with senior leaders to align communication with strategy and currently ensures Money Point Incorporated presence stays clear, trusted, and connected as it serves over 10 million businesses and individuals. So can we please give Aderayo a very big round of applause? And then I'm going to read the bio of our I won't say our last speaker, the next speaker, who is Success. It may okay, no, Success, I'm not going to do that to your name. So Success, please, you're going to open with your surname. You won't believe my name is Oluchukwu, but then again, don't judge me. I don't think we judge here. So Success, please, can you go ahead and pronounce your surname?
Hi, it's Ihumeziem.
Okay, Success. Thank you so much for that. However, Success, who is another of our speaker for today, is a Nigerian marketing professional and strategist with experience in telecommunications and Pan-African fintech. Her work helps businesses leverage data, creativity, and audience intelligence to craft brand experiences that resonate and convert awareness into revenue. I love that. I love revenue. So thank you so much. And please, can we give Success a round of applause as we go ahead into what we have for today? Yes. So I know that. Oh, I was going to read my bio. You know, add that part, Faith. Okay, so I guess I have to read my bio as well. Hello, everyone. So my name is Oluchukwu Chiadika, and I'm a marketing professional with over 9 years of experience in marketing operations, product marketing, content creation, and community management. Currently, I serve as the marketing lead at a Nigerian fintech where I drive nationwide marketing campaigns that achieve significant growth and engagement. And my career spans across highlighting successful high impact activations across multiple institutions, and I have been able to help consistently drive over 2,000 signups, and I'm also a great community builder. And I've done this through brand ambassadors program, and I'm also the founder of Your Personal Finance Girl, one of Nigeria's premier financial education platform with a community of over, let's say, 50K members at this rate, dedicated to empowering individuals with financial literacy. And I am very, very, very passionate about community building and digital marketing with excellence, exhibiting myself as a respected leader in my field. Thank you so much. You can please give me a round of applause. Thank you, thank you. Don't mention. Okay, so let's go over to why we're here today, right? And we're going to start with, let's say, an icebreaker question, because I know that very soon we'll start speaking jargons and all of that. So I'm going to go to Seyi first and say, what is one thing that you do? What is that thing that you do to cool off? I know you have yellow life, but what's that one thing? I think everybody can answer the same. What's the one thing that you do to cool off when you're not working?
I mean, it's either I play a game or I sleep or I go out.
Okay,
You know,
so
yeah, yeah, most likely. But it depends on mood. Some days where I feel like I want to be inside, I rather just play game. Some days where I feel like I'm tired of being inside, and I go out to have a few drinks. Some days where I feel like I'm tired, I just sleep. So it depends. Different moods it determines my my reaction to it. But yeah.
okay. Okay. Thank you so much. So, Success, would you like to go next? What's the thing you do to cool off?
Thank you for that. For me, I'd say I do love to read. I love reading. I love to play Sudoku, and I love to watch movies. So that's how I cool off.
All right. Okay. Hi, Aderayo. What do you do to cool off?
I think for me it depends, to be honest. If it's been a really long day, then I want to sleep. But on a good day, let's say like after work, I am obsessed with TikTok. I'm always on TikTok. I speak all the TikTok lingos. And then I like to read Afro literature. So
Okay, that's really nice. Well, I don't do anything, to be honest. I think most of the time I'll just probably mindlessly scroll and research about words that I don't know the meaning about. So that's what I do. So I keep working, right? So we're going to go right into experiential marketing. because I want to believe that there are a few people who will type what is experiential marketing, and this particular conversation is going to pop up. And I want them to have an understanding before we go into all of the things that you could do and ways you can achieve it. So this is going to be for everyone here. And I'm going to ask you to, in your own term, probably with an example or something, how would you define experiential marketing in today's African market? Like, why is it such a powerful tool for driving customer loyalty? So I will start with Seyi, then I think Aderayo, then Success. So please, Seyi, you have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
All right. So, I mean, again, in my own definition, I think experiential marketing is what's it called? Um, is a form of art that brands or individuals take to create something memorable or experience that memorable, literally, and to connect brand, on a personal level to individuals. But yeah, so I think that's where I would define it. So see it as a tool that connects a business on a personal level. I also see it as a tool that creates a memorable experience, through an activity or through fun on personal notes. So yeah, so that's how I would define it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please, over to you, Aderayo.
Um, I think she is sort of like touched on it. I think experiential marketing is a way to get people to experience your brand, when it's like that chance or that opportunity for you to be able to get people to experience, what the truth of the brand is. And it's a way for you to connect with not just your customers, but people that are curious about the brand. And it's just that platform in which people can actually just say, oh my God, I had this thing, or how you can manage brand perception of your brand. So do you want people to think that, oh, my brand is so cool? It's the opportunity for you to make people think that your brand is cool. Is it, do you want people to think, oh my God, these people are the next best thing after sliced bread? It's an opportunity for you to be able to say, yeah, I want people to experience my brand in such a way, and I want them to perceive me in that way. And it's like one of the biggest ways in which you can get customers or people who experience the brand to be able to understand all what you're about. So it's that platform that gets people to be a part of what your brand exists for, in my own words.
Wow. Thank you so much. So over to you, Success. I'm sure there's something you'd want to add.
Sure. My colleagues have actually said it all, but I would also like add a little bit of context from my own experience to it. So, experiential marketing to me in like today's African market is like creating memorable moments, like they said. But I also would say it's about Ubuntu marketing. And Ubuntu is an African philosophy that says, I am because we are. And, in traditional marketing, brands tend to speak to customers. While in experiential marketing, especially in the African context, brands should aim to, exist with their communities. So unlike Western markets where individual experiences like often, drive loyalty, when I think about experiential marketing in Africa, I see it as kind of an art of like transforming abstract digital value proposition into tangible, culturally resonant experiences that people can touch, people can feel, and people can also share with their communities. So it goes beyond just creating like a campaign into you creating a campaign and people coming to experience it. And then when they get home, they tell their family and their friends, and they're like, do you know what happened today? So it's about creating those moments that last and in such a way that turn people who experience it into loyal customers in long term, and also into advocates or ambassadors for the brand, long term and moving forward, even long after the campaign has ended.
Wow, thank you so much. I love how you put it, and that actually shows that there's some things that you could do to put like a human side to your marketing, and people need to experience it to be able to talk about it. So there's this thing, or rather, I feel like there are a few words when it comes to marketing that tend to be overused. Aderayo would definitely what's the word, should align with this word storytelling. You're scrolling on TikTok, storytelling. You're scrolling on Instagram, storytelling. You're going in fact, on LinkedIn, wherever you go, on most social platforms, we're hearing words like, okay, you have to use storytelling. And since we're talking about inspirational marketing right now, how exactly can we make use of storytelling? Is pretty much like the heart of marketing, if I'll put it lightly. How can we create experiences that will remain memorable for this brand experience? I would love success to start, and I think Adirayo and Seyi. So can you show us like how storytelling is important when we talk about creating memories and brand experiences?
Sure. Thank you so much for that question. Very important question, and also very important in the African context because Africa, has oral history. We did have, a little bit of like history passed down um, through like the written means, but a bulk part of African history is oral history. So storytelling in experiential marketing isn't, just about maybe crafting compelling narratives. It's also about creating living stories. So most brands, they will tell their stories, and they think that it's all about letting the customers know who they are, what they do, when it should be more about helping customers discover their own story. So making sure that these customers are also like co-authors in this experience that you're trying to create for them. So in my own experience with like ambassador programs, like the most powerful moments like happened when participants realized that they were not just, using a product, they were actually becoming part of a narrative that kind of elevated their own status or solved a personal challenge. And the key to creating this is what I call like mirror moments. That's experiences where customers see their aspirational selves reflected back through your brand. So it ties back to customers being like the co-authors of this brand story that you're trying to tell them. You're not just saying, this is what we're going to do for you. It's like, this is what we're going to do for you, but this is also what you're going to achieve using us. And this is how it ties into the goals that you have for the future, the plans that you have for your kids, and maybe even your parents or even future generations. And the magic happens basically when customers like, stop seeing themselves as like just revenue sources, and they start seeing themselves as like story contributors. So if somebody wants to open a savings account, they're not just completing a transaction, they're actually thinking, okay, if I do, interact with this brand at this event, as I am doing right now, I'm thinking about the fact that this could help my family long term. And this emotional investment actually like creates, loyalty that transcends like, price, that transcends like even like competition, or you trying to differentiate yourself from the competitors, because you can't really put a price on being like the co-author of like your customer stories. So storytelling for me is like something that's very important for brands to do or to integrate into like experiential marketing, but they have to do it in such a way that they're not just only telling their brand story, they're also making sure that they're understanding their audiences wants, what they are aspiring to, what their goals are, what their dreams are, even what the past, cultural nuances are, and also tying all of this together into like a multi-generational arc, which is the past, the present, and the future, and tying everything together in such a way that feels like very, very familiar to this customer that you're trying to sign up, or this customer that you're trying to get to transact.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Like, I think you've done very much justice, but I want to hear from Adirayo. I'm sure you're going to be adding something else.
Thank you, success, for that foundation. Um, to me, storytelling is everything. I think I'm very big on storytelling, and the way I see storytelling is, how do you want people to know what you've done if you don't tell that story? And it's two things. This is the way I see it. It's like, you've done something so amazing, But then, how would people beyond the lives that you sort of interacted with, how do they get to see it? And once you've done an experiential event, or you've done an experience for your customers or your brand or whatever it is in one aspect, then there's the other side where you now need to tell that story in such a way that people actually think it's more than what it was. Storytelling is, it's one of those things that you do, one of those strategies that you do, that you are able to influence a certain narrative, or you are able to influence a certain group of people, because you can do the most minute thing on the ground, right? In terms of an experiential campaign. And the way you tell that story, you make it seem like, oh, it was more than what it was. I can give an example. Let's say you do like a CSR activation, and let's say you pay, let's say there was like, toll fees somewhere, and you pay the toll fees of about 50 people. But the way you tell that story, maybe you get an interview from someone, and the person says, oh, this toffee was the last amount of money that I had, and I cannot believe that this brand did this for me. It just has that emotional resonance that people wouldn't have expected if you didn't tell that story. So it helps people remember your brand, it helps people connect to your brand, and even helps them advocate for your brand when the time is needed. So that's how I see storytelling. I see storytelling as a very, very important strategy to creating memorable brand experiences. You cannot do any activations on ground without telling that story in a meaningful way. And the type of storytelling that I love the most is emotional storytelling. I love storytelling that's different, that hits the core of people and makes people think that, oh my god, without this brand, probably maybe life wouldn't have continued. It may not be true, but it depends on how you tell that story. That's how I see the importance of storytelling in brand experiences.
Thank you so much for that explanation. So I'm going to have Seyi answer, because I'm sure that Seyi, you're going to say something that's going to lead to the next question. So please, can you go ahead and share your thoughts on
When did you become
storytelling?
a manager? That you know that what I'm going to say will drive the
I'm
next
very,
question.
don't worry, don't worry. You
Yeah,
you
to be very honest, they've said it all, but that may sound cliche, but I don't think that. I think I'm just going to buttress what Darius said, because I think Darius also kind of buttress was so it's actually also mentioned. As it is, marketing is the art of every business, because for you to be out there, you have to market your products. Storytelling is the art of marketing, which essentially makes it like storytelling is the art of every business. Um, by default, emotional storytelling sells more than every other storytelling, because that's only how you are able to get under people's skin. That's only how people get to see themselves through you, from you, in you, however it is. And I think the most important part of storytelling is the fact that it drives loyalty. There's just a part of people just feel like it's me and you forever, and you don't even know that. Through the art of how you tell the story, some people kind of find the story connected or related to you, and there's so many instances, so many. You know, I will use the popular musicians that we have, the top three. They have different story. They are different personality. They tell their stories differently. They have different flaws. But you see communities driving behind these forces and riding or die with them. And you ask the question, how did we get there? It is either intentional or intentional, because there's some storytelling that is not what's it called, that most storytelling are intentional, but there's some chords that kind of out of intentionality now give us intentionality. But yeah, so I think that's just pretty much what I'm going to build on that. I think the most important thing with storytelling, it drives empathy, drives loyalty, connects people to see themselves through you, to see themselves through your business, and I think etc. etc. Just to mention a few. So yeah,
thank you for that. And I really love the example
I'm
because
not curious to know the next question now that you said.
yes,
Listen,
in the past couple of years, right, we have a lot more businesses that have gone online. We have a lot more businesses moving online, and everybody wants to take their piece of the cake. However, you need to know that there has to be a balance between your in-person experience, your digital engagement. In fact, there's a drama I followed through the past 24 hours. It was so sweet. That was because of how bad a digital experience was going. And then there's the hybrid approaches that many brands are now buying into. So Sherry, please, can you tell us how can we or how can businesses find balance between this in-person experience, this digital engagement, and then hybrid approaches? Like, what's the sweet spot?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've always been a fan of in person, whether work, whether what's it called, events, because I mean, we are in a country where there are there are quite lapses that may not allow the online be effective, like network, noise from backgrounds, and all of that. So in person helps. I mean, it's just a better approach, mainly because it helps to connect your audience directly to whatever you're selling. You can easily know, you can easily have an idea or instant feedback on how your customer or how your consumer connect with your audience through their reaction, not necessarily what they say, but online. I mean, they can say, "Oh, go share it, go share it, go share it," but in the real term of it, I'm not really sold about it. So I think for me, I think that's always been in-person experience all time, all day. Some people might have their an opinion regarding digital or hybrid, but I personally think that I would rather be somewhere presently than to be there online, majorly because it's just very effective and I can easily, even networking wise, it's just an effective way. I mean, however, digital, the world is also going digital. So there are cases where there are some things that has to now be done on a digital level. But in this case, it also has to be properly planned, properly. You have to also, what's the word now? Forecast potential issues and how to solve it. And yeah, so but for me, I would take in person over digital and hybrid.
Okay, thank you so much, Jay. So anyway, I would love to hear what you have to say about this. Then after
Uh,
that success.
okay. I think this question just brings me back to, I think, would I say marketing 101, or I don't know, when you're starting out and you're creating a strategy document, the what, the how, and the why, right? When you're building up your strategy and you're thinking, oh, those foundational pillars, the what, the how, and the why. It's the same thing for me for this question, right? I don't necessarily think that there's a right balance between like in-person experience or digital or hybrid. So it's the finding out first, like where does my audience live, or where can I find my audience, right? Where is my audience? Is your audience digital? Then obviously digital engagement. Is your audience, in person? Then in person experiences, or are they in person and are they on digital? So I think just asking that question, where does my audience live? How do they want to experience my brand? We have different target audiences. A HNI audience, you will not treat it the same way that you're going to treat, Gen Zs, right? So you have to think about where does my audience live and how do they want to experience my brand. I think those are like the two questions you have to start with. And why would they even pay attention to my brand, either in person or on digital or on hybrid? And the interesting thing is that in Africa, I think I've come to find out that we are very big on physical community. People want to see you, and I think it's like one of those things that once you work in a fintech, that they're always telling me about trust. They want to see you physically. They want to, even if it's not like the owner, they want to see people affiliated with the brand. They want to just be a part of it. So in Africa, I don't think we can ignore physical communities. So that would be in-person experiences. But one thing about it is in this day and time, you cannot build without reaching digital, which is just what it is. So I don't think there's a right balance. I think it's asking the right questions and understanding where your audience is and how they want to experience your brand, and then just giving it a go from there.
Thank you so much. And I was expecting the trust thing from you because I'm in fintech. People have trust issues. But then
I think
again,
this is like one of the foundations of most of the things you do is trust. Like,
yeah.
it is what it is.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to check if success is going to contribute, but before she comes on, I'd like to be sure that I want to do a rain check to be sure that people that are listening are with us. So while you're listening, please can you drop in the chat what is that one event, one marketing event or brand event you've attended that blew your mind? Talk about it in the chat. And also, if you have questions, please keep them in the chat box. There's going to be a time for Q&A, and we'll be very, very happy to have your questions on. So I'm going to be checking the comments as well as the comment section. I'm checking in on success again to contribute. However, before I
Yes, I
get back,
okay.
okay, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. So wonderful contributions by, my colleague like Seyi and Derayo. I hope I pronounced that right. So just to add to what they said, I think the question is not, about choosing between digital, physical, or hybrid. It's more about achieving contextual presence. I like what she said when she said, you have to like ask, where is my audience? Where are they? Are they online? Are they physical? So for me, I'd say your brand has to show up in the format that best serves the customer's like immediate context. And long-term journey. So there's something I like to call experience ecosystems, which is like I will compare it to maybe a relay race. So perhaps a customer finds out about the brand or experiences the brand physically, and then you now take it online to make sure that you're communicating with them at every step of they are in the funnel. And then maybe you now bring a hybrid approach when they experience issues and then they need someone to like walk them through. So I basically would say that the most effective approach that I've seen actually combines like digital discovery, then human decision making, and seamless execution. So the key is to not think about the channels as maybe separate experiences, but to think about them as like different, should I say, like an orchestra with different experiences and with different instruments. I beg your pardon. A customer's journey can start with like a digital ad, like a social media ad. It could progress to a community workshop, and then it could then continue through WhatsApp consultation. So the point is to just make sure that everything is blended and the customer doesn't even know where the automated part starts or where the automated part starts or ends. Basically, make sure that the entire experience is blended. You're communicating with them, but physically, they can reach you if they need to see you in order for them to trust you. And then you're also making sure that when you're communicating with them online, it's also in such a way that they don't feel a break in transmission also. So the best approach actually combines all channels and doesn't treat them as like separate experiences. So I would say for me, I'd say it's a hybrid approach for me.
Wow, thank you so much. And yes, I found an example as you were explaining. Oh, they probably would have bumped into you via an ad and then come on and then have another consultation. I have experienced that via only a few brands, and yeah. Either ways, I'm going to also ask a very important question because we think about um, trends. We know that there's so many trends that come up. I would say if sometimes biannually we have like two or three trends that are taking over, and this pretty much affects how companies have to like evolve to ensure that they're meeting customers where they're meant to be. So, what customer trend, or rather, what trends in customer engagement do you think would shape experiential marketing in Nigeria and Africa as a whole over the next 5 years? There are a lot of things that we didn't used to do 5 years ago. And what are those things that you think in the coming years are here to stay? I think I would have Success go first, and then Aderayo, and then Shay.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Oluchukwu. So Like the most significant trend I personally see shaping the next 5 years is what I call hyperlocal and like a pan-African paradox. So on one hand, I think successful brands will see them becoming maybe increasingly specific in their local relevance. So they're not just maybe translating content into local languages, but they're also integrating like local customs in deeply authentic ways. So we'll see brands creating hundreds of slightly different experiences that are tailored to different regions, or should I say neighborhoods, different languages and cultural contexts, while also maintaining like cost efficiency. And on the other hand, I see there's going to be a growing Pan-African consciousness, especially with the Gen Z or with the young consumers, where they see themselves as part of innovation,
Okay, so I've lost.
Sorry, my internet is just doing its own thing.
Yeah.
So another trend I see emerging is community first and community led experiences. So brands will stop targeting just individuals and start designing for community adoptions. So the brands that will win will understand that in Africa, adoption happens in clusters. So this is definitely going to result in situations where customers become brand ambassadors, and they don't become brand ambassadors because of the incentives you're going to give them, but because of their genuine belief in the brand's mission and in the brand's products. And then as well as like an intergenerational experience design where brands create experiences that strengthen both family and community bonds across different age groups rather than segmenting them. Then I would say the third trend I see is experience led financial inclusion. So as fintech matures, we see integration with like Web3 products and even like these new generation banks and fintech companies. I see that experiential marketing will become a very important bridge that will bring the unbanked into formal financial systems through education, through campaigns that integrate both education and entertainment hybrid experiences. That's all from my end.
Oh, that's a long list. Thank you so much, success. So Adirayo, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I think success has done a great job in like breaking a few things down. I think for me, like what she said, community. I think, I believe that that's going to be a new trend. And I think it's something that's already happening. Before, you'd see brands go into the market, what they used to call experiential campaigns, go into the market, dance, sales, get people to buy, and then you say, it's been added to the revenue. And you see this new trend where you see brands trying to plug themselves into communities, or or influencers per se, just try to create communities through certain people. For example, if your brand is a brand that's targeted at moms, you see them throwing events that are targeted at bringing moms together, talking about specific pain points that these customers have. So you see community as a big driver for brand experiences now. And I think it's mostly because Gen Z's, or the new trend of people experiencing brands, is no longer a, oh, just purchase or buy. It's now, oh, I actually like this brand because of this, so I'm using their products because I have this affinity for them. So I see community as a trend that's going to get more robust in the next few years, and it's going to be a huge driver for sales. And I think, and I believe the second one is something that, it might just be my personal bias, is using data to target, customers or brand experiences, where you have so much data, and how are you using this data? How are you breaking down this data for customers to understand the work that you do? Is something that I also do on my end. I do a lot of case studies just breaking down, the work that I do at Money Point and how Money Point is driving, financial technology across Nigeria, just using big data and breaking it down for people to understand that they are not just customers, but they are also part of, what's driving an economy or what's driving a nation or, a continent at large. So showing people how they are also a part of the brand as well. So I think I would say community and using data as an experience.
Thank you so much. Hi, Shay. Would you like to add to
Well, I
this?
think Aderayo has kind of like cover most things that I have in mind. But in particular, I think um, the most important thing is that brands are now understanding that there has to be inclusion of users into whatever is happening. You know, understand that you're not producing or doing events for yourself. You're doing it for people. So which means that if you are doing, let's say, if you're launching a product, let's say an alcohol product, no matter how it tastes good to you, it's not about you. It's when I come to the event and I drink it, how do I feel drinking it? Now, aside from how do I feel, how does it make me feel? So these are the things that brands are now figuring out to understand. And that's why you see a lot of origin products. They are doing activation in Ibadan, in Ekiti, and because they feel like they're trying to target that locality that the brand stand for. Why they are now using it as a method to expand into other cities. You see if Glen launch a product, you're seeing them coming to Lagos because again they're trying to give it a feel of FOMO where if I go to club and I'm drinking Glen, I feel like a big boy. So which means that the aspiring big boys want to feel like big boy. If that makes sense. So in a nutshell, it's I think user inclusion is helping to it's a new trend that people now start to understand that once you put your customer first, once you put them in mind at the core of everything, it's a driver for everything that you're doing as a business.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And I think my next question is going to go in a way. We've been talking about customer engagement, and we've pretty much tilted more towards B2C, that is consumers directly. However, I want to hear from everyone here. Do you think that experiential marketing can be as effective as it is for B2Bs compared to the virality it has for B2C? I
Well,
think I want Shay to
yeah,
go
I
first.
want you to go first. Yeah, so I think they have their different objective, right? For B2B, it's mainly about I am gathering the key makers or key decision makers in a room because I want to foster a relationship. I want them to see me as a guy that can do their job. And I want to bring them in a room to kind of build or solidify the relationship we already have, and also trust, and for them to see that, oh, if you don't do business with me, I can do it with other people. Or if I have I have like other of your, what will I call it, computer I can do business with. Because if I can put all of you in a room, which means that I have the power to leverage other businesses when you don't do business with me. So B2B, I mean, when it comes to special marketing for B2B, it's simply for trust and relationship really. It's a different ballgame when it comes to B2C.
Thank you so much. Hi, Aderayo. Would you like to speak to that as well?
Yeah. It's interesting because I think I'm a bit fortunate to work in, B2B and B2C sometimes, just finding that beautiful balance, because sometimes you have to do things that speak to customers and then that's individuals and then speak to businesses as well. Um so I believe that it works for both. It works for both, and the way it is, you just have to find a way to tailor it. So, like Shay said, I think for B2C, no, I believe for B2C, it's emotions that's at scale, right? They want to just, resonate with the brand in an emotional POV, because if I'm using it, aside from the fact that, oh, like, this product works, or it's like, oh, how do I feel about the brand as well. So I feel it's just finding a way to tailor. But for B2B, like Shay said, it's trust, is access, it's, or are these people credible as well. If you're doing a B2B, you're going for a B2B event, it's not going to be, oh, the way you're going to target, a customer B2C. It's going to be more serious, more about conversations, speaking to them, coming to their level, and positioning yourself, in the ecosystem. But for B2C, it's more or less like, oh, you're giving them a reason why they should, like your brand, or they should experience brand, or they should use your brand, or they should be a part of it. So both sides both sides want to feel your brand, and it's just the format that is different. It's in the way that you end up targeting them, and it's in the way you end up speaking to them. So like I said, for B2C, I think it's more of an emotional POV, and for B2B, it's more of a conversational, coming down to their level to show them that there's trust, there's access, and credibility.
Okay, thank you so much. You added more context again. So, high success, would you like to contribute to that as well?
Sure.
So,
And
yeah.
I think they've done a very wonderful job, like differentiating the two different objectives that marketing for B2C and B2B audiences, or customers or clients actually possess. So to add a little bit more of a context, I'd say experiential marketing is actually even more powerful in B2B context in Africa. But you do have to understand that these B2B decisions are never really made by just one individual. They are made by, a collective group, what I would call like a decision ecosystem. So in the African business context, a purchasing decision would involve not just the official decision maker, but they would also talk to their trusted advisors. They talk to their professional network, who've had similar experiences. They could even talk to their mentors or community elders whose wisdom they value. So while traditional B2B marketing would target that individual key decision maker, experiential B2B marketing is going to engage the entire ecosystem. So I think B2B brands can succeed by creating experiences that enhance the professional reputation of their target customers or their target clients. So instead of just demonstrating the product features, they can also create moments where business leaders can showcase thought leadership to their peers. So we can think about this in terms of like executive roundtables, like industry master classes, or maybe even innovation showcases where the customers or the clients then become the experts and not just the audience. It's linking back again to what I said earlier about making the customer a co-author in the brand story. So B2B experiential marketing is definitely going to succeed when it helps these decision makers to envision and share the broader transformation story with their stakeholders. So it's not just about impressing that one key decision maker or that one buyer, but equipping them to inspire like their entire ecosystem in such a way that positions them as, valuable and also knowledgeable and also important.
Thank you so, so much, success. So I'm going to go back to Shay. And this, I think, I'm going to ask you like one or two questions back to back because you've worked with both local and international brands. From your experience, what's the biggest cultural difference in experiential marketing as it's approached in Africa when you compare it to other regions? Like, what is the difference?
Okay. I think that the difference are not quite a lot, but I think for African are more they kind of lean or lean towards aspirational experience. Um, why in the Western market it's more on a person on individual expression. I mean for Africa, you look at it from you want to do an event where you again, like I said, it's a concept of we want people to belong because again, as an African, there's this mindset of um, this FOMO where if I don't get it or if I don't buy it, I feel out of place. So this is pretty much how they, so I mean, so pretty much how it's being used to sell the difference, which is aspirational experience and the individual expression. I think just to highlight the major what's it called cultural difference that I've observed over the years that I've worked with both markets. I think the Western markets rather prefer personalization, something more individual, aligned with their philosophy. But for African, it's more of shared values, like identity, music, global relevance. Things that quite very little bit aspirational in terms of cultural identity as it is. So yeah, just mention few. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much. So I was, like I said, I'd gone through your pages trying to get to understand you better and know your work better. And I saw that from one of your business pages and your personal brand, there was a story you were sharing, like you were storytelling us about how you changed or rather you put out a business out there. I'm not going to mention your name, so you can actually give me another example if possible. So can you please share a specific campaign where you worked that you worked on and you completely transformed a view, like a brand's view, with the audience? Because, like I said, I'd seen one where you had done like a story around it. But if you like to share a story with us,
I mean, so the one that comes to my mind right now, and it's because my favorite is the Future Africa Awards 2020, 2021. I can't remember which in particular. I think probably before that time, they were the look and feel at which the brand was being perceived prior before then. So we had to top up, we had to switch things up, from how we told the stories, from the look and feel of the design. Most importantly, how we want people to see the event coming and create the eagerness and let them know that this is a different angles at which is being done. I think that's my favorite, and I don't know whether it changed public perception, but I think it helps the further year we did because we achieved the aim and objective, get people eager to want to be part of the event, to want to attend, and yeah, so that's my favorite, and I think it achieved the aim and objective that we had set, and it helps to achieve the next year goal, which was the main goal of why we would design or street things up in the beginning.
okay, thank you so much. I think I'm going to add one more question because when you were answering the question around should we do in person, should we do digital, you were very big, you particularly are very big on physical interaction. However, small business owners, even medium business owners, like they struggle with business limitation because events, to be honest, are not cheap. In fact, I have an event I was planning, it was meant to be physical, but it is not cheap. So, how exactly, or what are the steps that these small brands, what are those steps that they can take to ensure that they create this powerful brand experience without, yeah, without spending so big?
Well, I mean, to be very honest, in every campaign, I'm pretty sure Aderayo can relate on success. Budget is king because it helps you to fly, because you have something to play with. But however, in the case where you don't have money, I think the most important thing is understand your assignment, so you don't play different games. I think you need to understand the fact that what are we really working on, so the goal is very direct. We're not trying to have a dream of Banana Island with a budget of Ikorodu. We are very specific of what we want to achieve from onset. So it helps me to know who are the people that I'm targeting, what region am I targeting, what is my set goal. So this helps me. And I can now use other tools to maybe leverage storytelling, maximize community. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, imagine an artist that bring out songs. I think about rather than us shooting a YouTube video that's going to make this video go viral, that is going to cost us 100 million, for instance. Let's pay 5 TikTok influencers that is going to do a short video, and that when that video go viral, the stream of my stream would it will affect the ranking on Spotify or YouTube, and I can generate funds to probably shoot a video. Now, what you have done is that the goal is we want to be able to get these songs into people's mind, but we don't have money. Now you're able to identify how can we cook with this song using the particular audience that will probably make this thing go viral, or that would probably make this thing be in everybody's mouth. Because again, at the point you have to think about the impact over size, and you have to understand that it starts from what you have, where you are, and use what you have to achieve the set goals. Because what usually happen in the case of no budget, let's achieve goals is that the goals are not realistic. So, and when the goals are not realistic with no budget, we end up not achieving anything because I can't particularly help to advise. I can't particularly help to what's the word? To give direction precisely on what we should do to maximize what we have so it can be more effective.
Thank you so much. So before I let you go, just one last question. We've all established how when we're working with B2C, we it's best you go heavy on emotions. And one other thing that will add to this is visuals. So from your point of view and from all of the work that you've done over the year, what creative elements would make an experience really, really memorable rather than okay, it was nice? What are those things that people should take into cognizance to add to their events that's going to make it even better?
I always say it. I mean, maybe because I started my career as a designer, I think the first thing is your branding has to be on point. I think that's the key to every when you walk into it, when you walk into an event, the first thing you are seeing is the media wall, and other elements and all of that. And some design are very captivating that makes you wonder, is this an immersive experience? And it's just something very that plays with your mind. And I also think emotional anchors. I think they are what's it called for every individual. So imagine walking to a concert, and at the gate you have a thank you note, you have something personalized, that connects deeply with you, or that something that says something that just aligns, that connects with you. Those are the things that people don't forget, even though the event may not be great, but that stays with you, that lines with you. For some people, it's the design. For someone like me, the design. For some people, it's music, good music. I just want to go to an event and have good music. For some people, it's just the overall experience. So I think that, because I'm very honest, everything works hand in hand. For an event, it's one thing for some people, it's one thing for other people, it's one thing for other people, it's a different thing. So you, as the creator of the experience, you have to now look for how can I conjure all of these elements into one, that each person picks what aligns with them, and I can be able to appeal to 20% for this, 20% for this. Because when you're able to do that, what you're able to do is you're able to create an awesome experience that, regardless, even if I don't enjoy this, I enjoy this. If I don't enjoy this, I enjoy this. And you're able to create a awesome experience. But yeah, like I said, for me, I would pick branding, emotional anchors, good music, and what again? And yeah, I think overall experience, from coming in, how do I see myself, as part of the event, and those are the experiences that I think that could be can be better at some events, and yeah, and can be infused, I believe.
Thank you so so much. Like you gave us like a whole masterclass, like in 2 minutes. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to go to our next speaker, who is Aderayo. So when you were answering a question earlier on storytelling, you mentioned how, let's say for example, I was doing a CSR and I wanted to amplify that. I would use storytelling. So I have a question for you. My question is around CSR and brand activations because um, more more important, or rather more than ever, CSR is becoming so important, especially to the government, especially to how the public perceives you. How exactly do you ensure that these particular activities that you're doing for your company move beyond just another PRO move to show that okay, you guys are doing great, to actually strengthening these customer relationships? You touched on it a bit, but I think you're going to expand now. Like, how can we move CSR from PRO to how we can fall in love with your brand?
Okay. Uh, that's a very interesting question. I have so many answers in my head, so I'm trying to streamline it in such a way that I'm not okay. So I think this is how I can say it. All right. So since I'm speaking in a capacity of where I work at the moment, which is Money Points, in which I lead CSR as well. The first thing that we did before we started CSR was start with a CSR strategy. And a CSR strategy is understanding, what you want to do and the type of touch points or the sort of people that you want, because CSR is how people can benefit from your company rather than just oh, from a sales point of view or using your products point of view. Like, how can you touch lives and how can you make people's lives better than before? So we decided to streamline what we wanted to do and the type of people that we wanted to focus on and what the brand should be known for. And then we looked at it. Women owned businesses were one because they are sort of underserved and underprivileged. And then education for financial literacy, looking at children, because the educational system doesn't necessarily explain or gives the capacity for people to have financial literacy. So understanding and streamlining what you want and the industry or the touch points that you want to now go into. So women owned businesses, MSMEs, and children understanding financial literacy were the touch points that we looked at. And then after that we came and said, okay, what type of communities do we want to go into? Then we streamline that as well. So we looked at all that, and one of the things that we do a lot with informal businesses as well. Businesses that are not registered, how can we help them? Are there grants? Are there certain things that we can do? I remember there was a campaign that we did where we had given 3 months worth of inventory stock for certain informal businesses in mom and pop stores. So you can see that we had already streamlined the sort of things that we wanted to do, and we've kept that going for the long haul. And then the test for me would always be that, does this, CSR campaign or this CSR idea that we want, does this leave the community better equipped? If it does, then PR naturally would follow, because at the same time that you're doing CSR and you're touching people's lives, and then you're leaving them better than you know when you met them, you need to sort of tell that story that, hey, these are the sort of things that we are doing. So once you can streamline what that is, PR necessarily moves on. But how can you do PR in such a way that you're not just milking them for what you're giving them? So you need to be empathic as you tell that story as well, that this is what we are doing. And then once you can streamline that CSR strategy to say, oh, these are the touch points for in which we are going to reach these people, and this is what we want to do, and then PR will naturally follow, and it will be a consistent communication that people would see, because I would only work on these three touch points. I would only work on informal businesses. I will only work with women-owned businesses, and I will mostly work in the educational sector for financial literacy. So people will know your brand for certain things, and you keep consistent at that sort of thing, and then it will not just be word of mouth. It's not just be mechanized PR, but it will also be word of mouth.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, so now that we've gone into a bit of what you do, um, when we were talking about experiential marketing, we you sort of also ensured to mention that in the financial sector where you currently work in, trust is literally everything, right? So how exactly can this event help fintech brands, to be specific, build credible connections with their customers? Like, how exactly, or what are the examples you've seen? Just give us a few.
Um, Examples of So examples of experiential.
Yes, how experiential marketing can help fintechs to build credible connection, credibility
Okay,
rather than connection.
alrighty. How can fintech brands build credibility through experiential marketing? I think I had said something earlier where I talked about trust. And the reason why, in person for fintech brands mostly is because people want to associate your brand or your products with a human being, because most times fintechs are highly digitized, right? So they are not mostly seeing people behind the brand. It's not like a let's take a fintech brand for example. It's not like you can walk into any of the fugas and then you can say, "Oh, I'm going over the counter," or "I'm seeing somebody to complain." Most times, most of the infrastructure for fintech is mostly digitized and it's online. So when people get to see an in person, someone who they can attach to a brand, there's a bit of trust and there's a bit of, okay, I'm not talking to people that can just disappear. And for me, it's how can we build that credibility is coming closer to the customers, like what we've just been talking about, and finding out where you can find them so that they can say that, hey, these people are not just random people that are on the internet, but you can connect them to a human breathing flesh. And not just connecting them to a human breathing flesh is the fact that you can also see as well the work that they do and the impact that they do. um i'm not I'm not very big on brands just doing experiential for experiential sake, but I'm very big on people solving certain problems as at that time. So are you solving for awareness? If you're solving for awareness, you know that you are going there to preach about what your brand is about. Are you solving for the fact that, oh, you just want people to download your app or whatever it is? Okay, you know that that's the driver, and how are we going to set that drive forward? So there are different use cases and there are different issues that I feel like experiential marketing needs to target based off of the funnel that these customers are in as at the time. But trust is very big for fintech brands, and just being able to attach a human living person to the brand that can sort of advocate for your brand at the moment, I think that's super important for fintech brands.
Thank you so much. Um, my next question will go in line with where you work because MoneyPoint currently serves over 10 million users. So now that you're pretty much in the front line of brand and communication, how exactly would you design or how do you design experiences that still feel personal and engaging at a massive scale? I've seen a couple of campaigns that MoneyPoint has put out, and I'm very sure you're on that team and put that out. So how exactly do you achieve making sure that this campaign is personal, it is engaging, as large as it is?
Okay, so I think it just takes me back to like what I said before, understanding where people are as at the time and what problems that you want to solve. I really love how sometimes like we would do certain things and people will come and be like, "Oh, how did you guys think about this?" And I'm like, "We saw this problem and we're trying to solve a particular problem, right?" I think one of the issues that we were trying to solve as at a particular time that had to do with trust in the early days, which was about maybe like 3 years ago, was that this was when we still had about 400,000 businesses before we started even getting into millions. One of the issues that we had as at the time was that, you know, Money Point was highly digitized. People couldn't hold the company to a certain person. And Nigerians have something that we like to call low trust. And then they will say, "Oh, they don't have an office, they don't have this. How would I know that they will not run away with our money, even though the money is pennies?" But you get, they say, "Ah, my 1K in your account is safe," and all those sort of things. And what we wanted to solve for was trust, and solve for the fact that, hey, we are real people. So what we did as at the time was get real life testimonials, like testimonial videos of people, and then we went on the ground and then we started disseminating these testimonials. So whenever we had events, we would play these videos. We'll use people as use cases. When we want to have like banners or whatever, we would have like testimonial quotes on it. So you see that these are real life people. They're not people that we just vomited from our back end. You get. So It's one of those things that we've done. It's just finding different touch points for different people. So if it's like customers, there's market activations. If it's like policymakers, thought leadership articles, testimonials. So just understanding where these people are and having those touch points at those certain times.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm picking up a question from policymakers. So we're talking about finance, we're talking about creativity, we're talking about passing across this message in a way that we're intentional, we're hitting the right spots in their emotions, right? So I want to find out, since you work in a sector that is very, very, very big on compliance, especially since we're talking about people's 1K, people's 10K, people's 10 billion, right? How do you balance creativity with compliance, especially in finance that is highly, highly regulated? I mean, fintech and the thing our eye is seeing with compliance, right? So can you please share?
So, like you said, compliance is non-negotiable. It's not even something that you want to joke with because fines are real and fines are not what you joke with. But compliance is non-negotiable, and but it's not a limitation. That's one thing that I always say. It's not a limitation. It's something that you need to design your creativity around. So you need to have an understanding or an in-depth knowledge of what is compliant and what is not compliant. That's why I'm very big on understanding the reason why we do certain things. It's something that I say to my team. I say we don't just do things for vibe's sake. There has to be something that we are solving for. And as at the time that we are solving for, you need to understand why that is even a problem. So let's say, for example, you're working at a fintech where you do not have the license for a certain thing and then you're doing it, right? Obviously, you know that you can't talk about that particular product because you don't have a license for it. You might have been able to bypass it, but you can't talk about it. So there has to be a certain way in which you would be able to fine tune what you're telling your customers around, right? So you need to be able to understand the reason why certain things are being put in place and then walk around it, and find out how people can experience it, instead of just going straight on into it. Um, if regulation is restricting how you say something, maybe a particular word, you need to be able to find out how to say it in a different way. Maybe it can be a design or it can be how you want, it can even be a game. Maybe instead just do a game rather than talking about it or preaching about it. So compliance is important, but I don't think it's a limitation. And I think it's just us working around this. And I think an example would be, this is very tricky. Can I give an example? I can't give a personal example, unfortunately, because people cannot know my secrets. But um,
Tell us your friend's example. Your friend.
I'm trying to think about it. I'm trying to think about an example that wouldn't put me inside trouble. But the point is that you can be both compliant and you can be creative at the same time. And just because you can't say certain things or you can't talk about certain things doesn't mean that you cannot find a workaround. I think an off the top example is, let's say you can't speak about loans, for example, you can call it something else. You can call it maybe working capital credits, working capital loans, instead of outrightly saying loans. There's that fine tuning. So you need to be best friends with your legal team. You need to be best friends with, your product team. So just finding out how to do that. But yes, there's definitely a workaround for it.
No, thank you so, so much. Even though I'm going to come back and tell you to tell me about your friend and the different one or two successes that she has achieved. If not you, you can't. Don't worry, you don't have to say it's yours, your
Don't
story. But
worry.
I want to drag success into the conversation because I feel like I've left her for a bit. So success. Um, I love that when I was reading your bio, there was the part about revenue. Right, we've talked about how we can do these events. We've talked about how we can remain compliant. We talked about CSR. But then I want you to come and tell us about acquisition, because you've worked in partnership, you worked in growth. So you have your hands dirty in all of this, right? So, from your experience, what role would you say experiential marketing plays in helping a brand break into new and unfamiliar markets? Would you like to share with us?
Yes, thank you. And thanks, Daria, for all those insightful information you just gave us also. So experiential marketing, I'd say, is really important for brands that are looking to break into new markets or unfamiliar markets or even new industries. So experiential marketing, for me, I see it as if I'm running campaigns in a new market, or I'm running campaigns for an industry that a certain market is not particularly familiar with. I'd view my campaigns as cultural intelligence gathering disguised as a brand activation. So I typically would work hand in hand with the research team, for example, and of course with like the design team and all of that, but particularly with the research team. So would create these campaigns, would also have feedback loops where they're able to see directly what these customers are saying on the ground. So I use these campaigns as listening posts, opportunities to observe behavior, to understand those local nuances, and also identify unexpected use cases. So for me, the key is to start with learning experiences rather than selling experiences. So we organize community problem solving sessions where our product is like one of the tools among many others that are available to participants. And this would definitely, reveal how people naturally would want to use our solution. We don't even have to maybe sell to them anymore, because they can see the advantages that using our tools has over like using other tools, for example, or using other brands, for example. So from my work, I also learned that like a big mistake that brands make is assuming that they need to educate markets about why they need the product. But successful market entry happens when brands demonstrate deep understanding, again, of these cultural practices that influence the way the customer uses the product. So when entering new markets, I love to focus on what I call cultural anchor points, which is like existing community practices that naturally align with the brand value proposition. When we were trying to introduce like crypto wallets, so the products like in some new francophone markets, and communities that have like strong focus on collective savings traditions, like ajo, what we call ajo in Nigeria, for example. One thing I did was I did not position it as replacing traditional savings groups, but as strengthening them with like better record keeping, because of course it's on the blockchain. Blockchain is immutable. And then I also help them understand the expanded possibilities that they would have if they used our products, such as low cost remittances, and also being able to send money across borders like almost immediately, and the person receives it almost immediately. So, experiential campaigns should have an approach that involves creating cultural fusion events where these traditional practices will meet innovative solutions, and they then go beyond just product demonstrations. They're now collaborative exploration sessions where like community members can discover how this new product, this new brand can amplify their existing wisdom. So this approach would definitely build trust because it positions the brand as a respectful partner rather than an outsider they don't really get, or that's trying to disrupt their natural way of life or the way of life that they've known before that time. So for this purpose, like the key metric that brands should be looking at, like I said earlier, is not just like selling experiences, but like learning experiences. And they should understand that their key metrics shouldn't just be immediate adoption, but community conversation. So when people start discussing your offering in their local languages, and then they start using their own analogies and examples, you know that you've successfully breached those cultures rather than like impose your own solution. So when you then like create these campaigns, you're not just going there with the mindset to say, I'm going to go and get 2,000 signups from this event. I'm not going to go and get 5,000 signups from this campaign, but you're also working hand in hand with these customers, and everything they say, you have to document it, because it's just so amazing how awesome it is to talk to these customers on the ground, understand their pain points. Sometimes your product may not even solve everything they need, and it could even hamper your user acquisition in the long term. But when you're able to talk to them, you understand what they need, you understand where your product is failing, they then tell you or describe to you how it would be better suited to their needs, then customer acquisition becomes like the easy part of it all, because you've heard from the people on the ground, they've heard from you, you understand the cultural context that this product is coming to fit into, and they also understand how exactly your product also helps them. So it's like a two-way street.
Thank you so much. You pretty much already answered my second question, because when we talk about acquisition, the next thing we'll talk about would then be retention. But you've touched a bit on that. So I'm going to go to a different angle entirely. So, to a large extent, when we compare Africa to other parts of the world, we'll still fall into an emerging market, right? And digital literacy and access vary widely. Like if you go to different parts of Africa, the access to digital assets is not widely spread. Like it's not balanced yet. So how can experiential marketing bridge this gap and still remain pretty much inclusive all the same?
Okay, you're asking how experiential marketing can bridge the gap of what? I didn't really get that
Digital
question.
literacy and access.
Oh, okay. Basically, addressing digital literacy and access in Africa requires creating sequential experiences, like experiences in sequences that help people or that meet people exactly where they are, while also providing clear pathways to enhance digital engagement. So, digital literacy, of course, is not binary. You know, people exist along a very wide spectrum of comfort and capability. So, instead of creating a one size fits all digital experience, successful inclusive approaches, I would say, create like multiple entry points and progression pathways that also honor these different starting points that these new users are at. So you want to basically implement like technology integration ladders that begin with familiar analog processes if you're dealing with customers that are not digital or tech savvy, and then gradually introduce digital enhancements. So for example, you may want to start with like the traditional group savings meetings, but then you now introduce simple SMS notifications for reminders. Then you now introduce basic mobile money transfers. Then you now introduce like complex smartphone apps for advanced features. So each step builds confidence and capability like for the next level. So you could also you could also create like mentorship circles where digitally savvy community members can share their skills with their peers in a very supportive, non-judgmental environment. So these peer-to-peer learning can remove like most of the shame associated with digital learning gaps. They can also create positive social reinforcement for technological adoption. So some critical success factors that include ensuring like that every digital enhancement provides immediate practical value. So you're maintaining non-digital options for those who prefer those non-digital options, but you're also celebrating small wins at each technology adoption level, rather than measuring success only by advanced digital engagement. So the solution is not dumbing down your app, it's not dumbing down your experience, it's just creating a scaffolded engagement that naturally builds digital confidence. So we design experiences where digital interactions feel like a natural extension of physical activity and not like a separate skill requirement. And the goal for all of this is just to create positive early wins with technology that build confidence for more complex interactions later. So people who feel successful with simple digital tasks, they become more willing to try out more advanced technological features. And then there's like I would say there's also like this grandmother test. Like if your grandma can't use the platform or can't use the product, then you have to go back to the drawing board and make it more simplified.
Wow, thank you so much. So I was pretty much going to like give a standing ovation, but we've not gotten to that point of the session yet. But I'm going to ask one more question. But before I go ahead to ask you one more question, I want to check everyone. I want to check those that are listening because I just got another comment. If you have questions, please do well to drop them in the chat. We're already right around the point where we're going to be answering questions. So I want to be sure that those of us that are following, your questions will be answered before we go. And I have one more question for success, and I think we're going to be wrapping up right around there. But if we don't wrap up around there, don't hold me to it because I might just be that preacher. So, to success, I think this question is going to still tilt towards keeping people in check and holding them and collecting their money, in other words. So, what advice would you give to businesses that are struggling to turn different campaigns, different awareness campaigns into loyal customer communities? What's that advice you can give to businesses?
Businesses who are struggling to turn campaigns into loyal communities.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would tell them to just like basically put customer first. Customers know when you're disconnected from them. They know when you're marketing to them because you want them to spend. They know when you're marketing to them because you want them to transact. So you have to go on a customer first approach. You want to work with your research team, work with your marketing team. It's now like a collective team effort. So engineers are working, creating a product. They think they've created the best product ever put out in the history of mankind. But customer support is getting these different complaints, right? And they're telling you that okay, these customers are experiencing bugs or glitches or anything. And it's not just enough to know what customers are saying to support or the feedback that you're giving back to research. You must also act on those things, on those insights immediately. There should be no pause like, oh my God, yeah, we're going to solve it in the next 2 months. Bugs that tend to get left, put away for like a couple of months, next 2 months, they tend to be like long-term problems. And in experiential marketing, your first impression when customers use your product, imagine having a campaign where customers use your product and then your app is glitching on the spot. Your competitors don't have to say anything bad about you. You've already done the work for them, and then the potential customers are going to be like, is this what I'm going to try to do? Is this what I'm going to do? So the only way to make sure that you're converting awareness into revenue is making sure that the app works, number one, and number two, converse with your customers like they're even more important than your shareholders. You have to hang on to their every word. You have to also be looking in the funnel. Where exactly are they dropping off? What is causing them to drop off? Loop in customer support, loop in all the different touch points or the different departments that may have an idea or different information about why maybe they're stuck in signups, they're not going to KYC. From KYC, they're not going to transactions, or they're just stuck in awareness. Maybe they didn't even sign up at your event, they just registered their details. You then call them up, or you then send them emails, you then send them follow-up emails, reminders. Just make sure that you treat them as important as you treat your shareholders. So if you put customers first, I see that you definitely don't have any issues in terms of like them moving on to the next stage of the funnel, them making transactions, them being retained, them even talking to more people. You just have to do that. It's very hard work at the beginning, very tedious, very hard, because you have like quantitative survey and qualitative surveys that you have to do. You also have to look in the data team to see, okay, where exactly are we having these bottlenecks that are making people not convert. But if you can sit down, do all of those homeworks, and then um, understand that customers as important as these shareholders, then you don't have any problem turning awareness into revenue at that point, or turning awareness into retention at that point. I say all of this because I think I've said them earlier in the session, but my philosophy, my religion in marketing is customer first. Is customer first, culture first. Because once you can identify these things, you can also solve for these things. You can also solve their pain points. You can solve why exactly they're trying to use your product, what potential issues they have with your product. I noticed that the whole other things just flow very easily, but it's very hard to ensure that you have that presence on ground to talk to them directly, look into their eyes, let them look into your eyes, and then you're sure that they're not lying. They don't have to sugarcoat anything, they don't have to filter anything, and then they're telling you the truth. And you're not just hearing the truth, but you're implementing that truth in the next 1 month, in the next 2 weeks. Customers are saying, oh wow, they took my suggestion and they really implemented it. It is very important in that context.
Thank you so much for that answer. So I think I'm going to come back to Aderayo now, and before coming back to you, Success, because I want to know, if I was just starting out in experiential marketing, if I was just starting out in trying to ensure that my customers or people that I'm serving have something stuck in their head, what is that golden rule for creating unforgettable experience? I think I know what Adirayo is going to say, but I want to hear from her.
If you know what I'm going to say, start and let me tell you if you're correct.
No, 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 no. Go ahead, because it's going to be around your why. And but no, please go ahead and answer.
I think my golden rule is don't sell. That's my golden rule. And let's take for example, I think one of the most successful ways, or the most talked about way that Money Point Group has showed up, is when we were in Kenya at Africa Tech Summit, and we had a booth, but all what we did was put a basketball court. That was it. We put a basketball court and we said shoot for your dreams, and we just put a basketball court, and the footfall to the booth every day was massive. People would just come in, take the ball, like hoop. And I know I was standing around and somebody would tell me, oh, the last time he played basketball was when he was in uni, this, that's that, and to just start up a conversation. I think my golden rule is don't sell. Let people experience your brand through a fun way, and then let that conversation now lead to you having to sell. So it's like, as I'm here, how do I stand out from other people, because you're not the first brand in this industry, in this ecosystem that's doing it. So how can I make people remember what they've done? And this was done sometime earlier in the year until now. I still have people who text me, oh, I remember what you guys did in Kenya. I remember what you guys did in Kenya, because it was so fun, it was so out of pocket, and it wasn't salesy. It was people experiencing and just having a good time. And they were able to take it back out of the event. Because if someone said, oh, how was your trip? The first thing you're going to think of is, oh, I shot hoops at a tech event, right? It's not something that you put together, but that's my goal there. People just need to legit experience your brand in a fun way.
Hi, Success. Please, we have a golden rule.
Yes, I love Deraya's golden rule. by the way, because it just captures the soul of experiential marketing. Then my own golden rule is make people more capable, feel that they're more capable of achieving their dreams when they leave than when they arrived. So I say this in the context of like my experience, which is, fintech and like web3, working with like wallets, remittance services. So for me, like, unforgettable experiences are not just about impressive product values or like the memorable entertainment, for example, but like about personal transformation. So the best brand experiences will serve as a catalyst to help people to discover capabilities that they didn't really know they possessed, or you make them feel like they just discovered capabilities that they didn't really know that they possess. And then they feel like you've provided them with tools to overcome those challenges that they thought were, insurmountable. So this would mean, shifting the focus from what will people remember about our brand to how will people feel differently about themselves and their possibilities because of their interaction with our brand today.
Thank you so much. So when Aderayo was answering the previous question, there's something rather I'd love to ask the both of you, because I would always think about when you're doing any sort of marketing, there should be like a connecting line, connecting dot back to revenue. But from your story about the last event you were at and how you guys implemented the strategy, how exactly should brand measure the success of an experiential campaign, an experiential marketing campaign, beyond just the sales figure? How exactly brands measure?
Alrighty. Oh, so that would be me, yes. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
I think well, no, I feel like you're broken record because I'm gonna say it's the why, right? What exactly are you trying to solve for? I think that would help you understand what the metrics of an event is. So sometimes we might be it depends. So let me take money point for an example. We can be at a fintech event, and what do we use to measure success of this event? It's one, leads. How many leads does the sales team have? Then two, it's footfall. How many people came to your booth? Then thirdly, it's top of mind awareness. What's the TOMA score for that particular event? And also what's the end media for that event as well? So these are some of the metrics that we use to measure experiential events. So it leads, it's top of mind awareness, it's end media, and then obviously it's footfall. But depending on what you're coming to that event to do, like I said, everything has a reason why. It's like just doing regular product marketing. There is always a reason why, and there is always a perceived, you know, there's always a perceived result that you're looking for. So if you're at a particular event to close sales, obviously footfall is one, and then the amount of leads that is gotten from here. Sometimes it's end media, how many of the how many press people are talking about you, how many people are talking about how you showed up at the event, or how you showed up at a certain place, or how you had an activation, how many people are talking about it. So end media, how many people showed up for leads, like I said. So there are different metrics that you can use to measure experiential marketing, but it still boils down to what are you looking for and what are you trying to solve. If you're trying to solve some sort of virality, then you are looking at end media. If you're trying to solve for people that engage with the brand at a particular place or at a particular time, you're calculating footfall. So it depends on what you're looking for, and then you can now tailor those metrics to your desired outcome.
Thank you so much. Hi, Success. Please, would you like to also tell us what should brands measure as the success of
Yes.
an
Okay.
experiential marketing?
Okay. To add to what Derayo just said, I would also say you could also measure, or brands could also measure like community ripple effects. So how brand experiences create a positive impact that extend beyond direct customers to the customers' families, the customers' networks, the customers' communities. So you want to track like knowledge transfer rates. So how often are customers sharing or talking about what they learned with others? You also want to measure capability enhancement indicators, for example. So you want to see if you're really listening to your customers, you would know the goals that they intend to achieve using your product. You aggregate all of that into a database and then send them periodic surveys or send them periodic reminders, or let me say surveys which serve as like feedback loop to them, telling you where they are in respect to that goal. And it makes them feel heard. It makes them feel like, oh, wow, I'm really special. They remembered what I said at that activation or that day that I told them. So you want to see evidence that customers are achieving those goals that they couldn't reach before they started engaging with your brand. Then you also want to monitor whether your experiences are actually bringing people together independently of outside of yourself. Some brands are so successful at connecting with their audiences or with their communities that they have different people who just decide to create meetups by their own self with their own money, talk to other people about this brand just because they feel that much of a connection, to them. And these metrics, they matter because they indicate whether your brand is actually creating lasting value or just temporary engagement. And when your experiences actually generate positive ripple effects throughout communities, you're able to build sustainable competitive advantages compared to like your competitors. And these are advantages that can't really be replicated through like price competition or through advertising spend.
Wow, thank you so so much for that. We're coming to the end, to the let's say to the end of the webinar, and I think I'll just ask maybe one or two more questions to wrap up today's conversation because it has been packed. It has showed like different point of views, different examples around experiential marketing. However, I want to talk a bit about startups because I think I only asked one question previously around small business owners, and I think Seyi answered that. So for startup and young businesses that are probably will be watching this experience, so that young, vibrant marketing lead that wants to just get everything right, what's one thing that they can do, or yes, what's one thing that they can do for their brand or for the company they're working at that can make a lasting impression on their customers? I think, Success, I want you to go first, then after that, Aderayo can go next.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I think young businesses should just embrace their inexperience. Like, I feel it's their greatest asset. So they could, show that vulnerability by openly sharing their learning journey with their customers and inviting them to participate in shaping the brand's development. So, a way this could play out could be at an activation, you could as a brand, you could tell these new customers like some preconceived notions you have about them and how they could use the product or what the product could do for them, and invite them to actually correct you to see if your preconceived notions were actually true or false. And instead of pretending to have all the answers, startups can just create like co-creation communities where early customers can help design the products, services, or even shape experiences. Let them tell you whether they liked that activation, whether they want to have another sort of activation that they want you to, set up for them. What kind of experiences do they would they prefer to have with your brand? Maybe it might not necessarily be what they're experiencing at that particular time. They might give you ideas that, oh, we don't want a mall activation, would prefer it be at a bus stop. Or we don't want an activation that has coffee. We wish we had pizza. So all of these are feedback loops that actually help you understand as a startup, okay, this is how I relate with my brand. And they know that you're a young brand, and then you're using that vulnerability as a strength instead of it being an inherent weakness. So this approach basically like transforms the typical customer brand relationship, instead of being a sales only relationship, into a partnership where customers feel like genuine ownership of the brand success. They feel like they have a buy into the brand story, into the brand's progress, and they feel like they're they're part of, you know, the people creating the brand, and also they have a say in how the brand is going to develop over the years.
Wow, thank you so much for that. You pretty much already answered a bit of another question I had at the back of my mind around getting customer feedback. So I'm going to ask Aderayo to also please share your thoughts on what small startups and young businesses can do.
Um, when I saw the question, the only thing that came to my mind was I know that one of the biggest issues, I think Shay had already touched on this, is budget. Where you feel like you could be doing more with more money. And I know that it's a lot. You see other big brands doing so many things. They're like, oh my God, it's because they have money. I think one of the things I've been fortunate to do in the past few years is that learning to work with less, right? You don't need to go out, spend the most money to have a brand activation. You need to be able to find your resource and say that this resource, find creative ways to reach more people with less. What am I saying? Find the right events to be at, find the right places to be at, and find that key takeaway that people can never forget. It can be down to, just giving out grants. For example, it doesn't have to be a lot of money. 100K, 200K can go a long way. But how you tell that story, like we said in the beginning, is what really matters, right? So doing a lot with less is the biggest advice that I would do. You don't need to wait till you have the most money. Do with what you have, and as you keep on growing, you get to do more with what you have. Because I've seen what it is like doing a lot with less, and as we grow and as there's enough budget to do more of the you know grand scaling things. Because what do you mean you just put a basketball court at an event? Like, what's going on there? Why would you do that? Obviously, if you go and pitch that kind of idea to your boss, they are going to be like, I don't understand. How is that meant to give me sales? Right? But think of it like, is it a mini basketball competition as at the place that, oh, it can only be for people who have signed up to our app or whatever it is? Just think about it based off of the problem you're trying to solve, and I promise that you can do a lot more with less.
Thank you so much for that. And I love that example. So I already said I was going to come back and ask you to give me an example. Tell me a story. So this is going to be right around the last question. Yes, do more with less. But what is that one brand experience you personally would never forget, and why? Either it's a project that you worked on or it's a project that you experienced. So Aderayo, please, would you like to go first, or should success take the stage? But I'd love to hear from the both of you.
Yeah, I can go first. I mean, it doesn't like this. Like, thank you. You said, like, a project that I worked on. It's not a on-site project. Sometime last year, I think it was November. We were about to this money points. We were about to announce, a new funding round that, quote unquote, would make us, what everyone calls a unicorn. And I remember that brief falling on my table, and I was like, hey, how am I going to tell that story? It was very hard. It was like weeks and weeks of brainstorming. I think I'd even given up at a particular point, and I slept and I woke up and I had an idea. And the campaign it's still day one. And we decided to tell, like, the real story of how we got there. And it's still one of the best brand stories that we have that went viral without any form of PR push. By the way, everybody was talking about it when we released it. We had the CEO in the room, had a few people come in, just talking about how, it was just a dream and they built it, and him just talking about, how we still day one, right? It's still like the best project, and it just came from a place of just wanting to tell, an authentic story, because we wanted to just say, hey, we've raised money and we've grown big, but nobody knows what the back end is like. Nobody knows what sleepless nights, the amount of, some people bet their life on the company. If it didn't scale to this, to like this position that it's at, then they could have lost everything. And we wanted to tell that story, and that's what we did. So I think one of the things that has worked for me over time in my career is just authenticity, and just wanting to be true to myself and the story of whatever brand I'm working with. So I think that's like my favorite. And if you've not watched it, it's on our LinkedIn. I think that's Money Points group. I think it's like the pinned video on LinkedIn, so you can just watch it and have fun.
I remember watching it. So go and watch it if you've not watched it. I'm not going to tell you what they did. Over to you, success, please.
Okay. So for me, one brand experience that still sticks in my head, even though right now I'm no longer like in crypto, I've pivoted into like telecoms. But there was a time we had to do a campaign with USDT, and this campaign was targeted at the market women, on the mainland, Ipaja to be precise, or Ianopaja. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And so we had to like think about some interesting ways to connect with them because, of course, they have like some certain challenges that they would pose for us, signing them up to the platform and getting them to use USDT. And we also had to think about a way through which we would also have them or have the brand like top of mind even long after the event had ended. So the reason I relate with Darius do a lot with less is because it's so interesting how you could have like different creative solutions to go around issues. At that point, crypto wasn't yet legalized in Nigeria. You definitely couldn't get a billboard and just put crypto on it. Binance had done it, and then they were smacked with a very heavy fine. And so we just had to be smart about it. And we thought about like giving these traders umbrellas that were branded with like the Tether logo as well as the yellow card logo at that time. And it was kind of like a whole street filled with like the yellow logos and with the yellow umbrellas, which were there even long after the event had ended. And then going back to the market women, we also had to like localize that campaign, give them marketing materials that were produced in Yoruba language and Pidgin English, of course in English also, but we put a lot of emphasis on the local languages that they could understand. And the results were really, really nice because we had very high amounts of signups, and then we had like this dedicated customer support channel through which they were able to talk to customer support if they had any bit of an issue, and they were able to move along the funnel faster. So that sticks in my mind because we had to creatively go around compliance. We couldn't, put on a billboard there. There were a lot of things we couldn't do, but we creatively had to like work with what we had and also do things in such a way that long after the event had ended, we're still top of mind for these traders and these store owners in the market. So yeah, that's one of the events that I think about a lot of times.
Wow, thank you so so much. I think I'm going to have to go and look for it because this sounded really really good. Um, I think right about now would be a good time to say we've had a very good conversation. It's well over an hour. I did wait for a few questions. I checked the chat, but I'm not sure we've gotten any more. And I want to say thank you to Aderayo, to Seyi, and to Success for indulging me. Thank you so much, and for answering and sharing the questions. So I think right now I'm going to hand over to the GHA team. Thank you so much for having me as a moderator. And if you're watching the replay to this time, kudos to you. Don't forget to ask your question in the comments. I'm sure somebody's going to pick it up and give you a beautiful answer to it. Over to you, peace. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Oluchukwu. That was amazing. Thank you so much to all our speakers. It was awesome. We had people in the comment section say that even though it was the first time joining our webinar, but this first time experience was awesome. So thank you so, so much. I hope you also had fun. I hope you also had fun, like sharing your experiences as well. Thank you, Seyi, and Aderayo, and Success, and Oluchukwu. Thank you so much. And for our audience, it would be great to follow our speakers. Check them out on Instagram, X, and LinkedIn. It'd be great to check them out. I think Aderayo said something about money points and some mentioned something. So it'd be great to follow her to also like see more about that. So you can follow Success and Aderayo on LinkedIn. You can also follow our amazing moderator on LinkedIn as well at Oluchukwu. Thank you so, so much. So right about now, I just want to use this opportunity to share with our audience that this is GHA, the fast growing community of 700 plus growth professionals working in tech startups across Africa. So it would be really great to join our community so you don't miss out on upcoming webinars. And the webinar replay is also going to be available. I'm going to be sharing the link shortly. So feel free and do well to check it out, join, and look forward to what we have next. By the way, I'm still going to be sharing what we're going to be doing next. This all webinar series, it's a content project. It's a content project, and we are working on 12 pillars of growth. This is like the 10th pillar of growth, where we talk about experiential marketing, and thanks to our speakers that did like justice to it. So there's a lot more to come out of it. We're going to so repurpose the content, and you can have access to it. But what's coming up next is happening September 20, where we're looking at the pillar of growth that says navigating omni-channels marketing strategies for growing marketplaces in Africa. So we're going to be looking into this deeply. Once again, feel free to use the link to join the community. So right about now, I'd like to say thank you once again to our speakers. That's about everything. Yes, we're going to be displaying how to connect with our speakers again so that you can as well connect with them before you leave. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.